everyone.
I don't think they're going to be as good as that promo. Maybe we should just call it a day now.
That's it.
Cool. So hello, everyone. I'm Vandana Taxali. I'm here with Max Moore and Kenny Schachter, and we're going to be talking about curating NFT art, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So Max Moore is director, head of contemporary art auctions at Sotheby's. And we've got Kenny Schachter, who's artist, collector, curator. I'm an IP lawyer. I'm also the founder of Artcryption, an NFT platform. I'm also an art arbitrator with the International Court of Art at The Hague. So I'm really excited about this this panel. Maybe we can just dive right in and just get into it. So, Kenny, so tell me, so what have you been up to lately?
I curated actually the biggest NFT show to date in London at a new platform called Institute a few weeks ago. And then from there, I went to Basel, where I organized and was in the booth of Nagel Draxler Gallery in the Basel Art Fair, another first, and certainly just the beginning of the floodgates opening. The next Basel Fair is coming up in Miami in December, and assuredly there'll be a hell of a lot bigger presence of NFTs in Florida. And then I released a series of 10,000 NFTs called Crypto Mutts, which was, for me, the NFTs serve as a entree into an arts club where you receive my writing that is behind a paywall at ArtNet, among other attributes. And those sold out in an hour the same day as the opening of the Basel Fair. So that's pretty much it.
Great. So when you were curating at the Institute, how did you decide what artists to put in the exhibition?
Well, I mean, that's an age-old question for anyone who organizes anything so, I mean, what's the criteria for what you like? The criteria is their decisions based, whether it's on the history of my art education and all of going through a pool of talent that I've met since I've been in the NFT space over a year now. So, I mean, there's no hard and fast rules for it. It's just finding work that resonates and speaks to me.
Right. I mean, I feel like there's I'm interested what Max has to say as well, that the NFT space sort of started off more with, what I would almost call it like crypto artists, as opposed to like traditional artists. And we're now seeing, more traditional artists getting into the space. So, what are your thoughts on that? We all know about the Beeple piece, and I have a story on Beeple, actually. I met him in August 2019 and at an exhibit here in Toronto, and talked to him about blockchain and the platform that I was working on. And, at the time, he wasn't in the space at all. He wasn't even in the art world. And he was like, oh, can you help me get in the art world? Which I find, really funny right now. But
what did he say? I didn't hear you. He said what?
He said, can you help me get into the art world back then?
Well, he's still not in the art world. He's just wealthier than most of us.
Yeah, no, true. But he's definitely more known than some artists that have been in the traditional space for a long time. So, so what are your thoughts on that? Like, when we're talking about traditional artists and, crypto artists and, curating NFT art, do you think it's going to be sort of like a change, from more, crypto artists to more traditional artists getting more into the space?
Well, I mean, I just think, again, you can't make a sweeping generalization. I've been employing digital means in my art making since the 90s, the early 90s. And there's been digital artists that that are blurred in the distinction of where they fall in within the relationship to the contemporary art world. There's been generative photography and computer-based art since the 50s and 60s, so it's nothing new. So I don't think there was a period where, with NFTs, from the beginning, there have been conceptual artists that have dipped in as soon as the first NFTs made their way, as soon as there was such a thing as NFTs. I would say the first drops were in the end of 2017. There's always been, you just can't say there's crypto artists and traditional artists. It's just a mishmash. It always has been, it always will be. And these worlds will collide more. They're pretty much already enmeshed. So it's all happened. and it's happening deeper by the second.
I would add that an artist really needs to use the medium, whatever that is, to send their message. So if an artist is sticking to traditional forms of painting and sculpture and then making a digital copy of it and minting it, for me that's not successful. That's not like a path that I see as progressive or capturing the essence of an artist. It really has to come from you utilizing this medium, which is at your fingertips in a way, to explore your messaging in a different way. So if an artist, a traditional contemporary artist, can capture that with this new medium, or with this medium that's been around but is at the forefront of our discussion, that's what I think is going to be interesting.
I mean, for me, NFTs are nothing. I always say an NFT is a smart contract piggyback on an Ethereum token. So what appeals to me, besides the fact that I trademarked the word, is NFTism for me is the community of people I've met. I've spent over a year researching pretty much every day I've now written 9 features about NFTs and given like 24 lectures about it, mainly so I could learn more about it. It's learning a new language from someone who's been teaching about art since the early 90s, making it, curating it, and also curating, buying, selling. So for me, the difference is, the new part is that when social media came along, it was a wrecking ball in terms of democratizing the communication of imagery through Instagram in particular. And that was a radical change, because before Max was born, we used to have to send slides around by mail in order to convey an image from one person to another. And then with NFTs came this wildly empowering force of nature, which enabled artists not only to convey their image through social media, in the case of NFTs, through Twitter, Discord, now they have a marketplace to sell it. So in a way, it's been Sotheby's and Christie's have led the way, because the galleries are too scared about losing their base of power. So it's been, just for me, I mean, I've been in the art world for 33 plus years, and I love provocations and radicalizations and revolutions, and we're smack in the middle of one. And it's been fascinating to me that people like Max and Noah Davis at Christie's are that's fantastic that the younger generation of people, in my case, older people that have foresight, are taking the initiative, and we're scaring the crap out of the art dealers that are too conservative to realize that things change over time, and that nothing is given in this world. And even the model of galleries as we know them, sterile, clinical, architectural environments, that's only a model that's about 150 years old, and it's finished as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there'll always be galleries, but not the same. Things are no longer the same, nor will they be the same.
It's true. I mean, my comment is, though, I've been, reading the reports like Deloitte Art and Finance back since 2017, and we've always been talking about blockchain in the traditional art sense, and, even talking and interviewing galleries and auction houses, and, what is the future of, blockchain, for provenance and helping with authenticity. So I feel like the art world has always been ahead in that sense of like embracing blockchain and NFTs, but they just never kind of dove into it. I think it happened more so in 2018. We started, seeing, more of that. And now this past year, I feel like the art world has caught up, seeing, okay, now we're seeing that this is actually happening. There's use cases, and now, they're coming in. But I would say the traditional art world, was always, just from reading the reports, whether it's Hiscox or Deloitte Art and Finance or Art Tactic, they've always been talking about blockchain. Like, I think the art world has always been examining it. They just never, dove right in. And I feel like now with NFTs, it's kind of speeding it up. But yeah, interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would just say that I think they're two separate subjects that you're discussing. One is the use case of the blockchain to increase the efficiency of the traditional physical objects that we buy and sell and trade, that coexist in the art world today. And it never really picked up because it's a huge undertaking. There needs to be a general consensus and a general belief that like this is the standardization, and that is quite an impossible task. There's been a few companies that have tried, and maybe now there's going to be a little bit more success because NFTs have been on the forefront of the discussion. But what I think we're seeing right now is a revolution of the medium. You have artists that are really using this new medium. Well, I keep referring to a new medium. Digital media has been around since long before I was born, but I think the ease at which the digital media can be owned and transferred through blockchain technology is what's really exciting and what's really driving the adoption. But I still think we have ways to go before the technology can be implemented and increase efficiency within our traditional lines of business.
I would say I fully disagree with your not Max, with your comment that the art world has been embracing crypto blockchain notions since the beginning. I just don't, that's not true. I think that there have been various crypto entrepreneurs that have tried to utilize the blockchain in, if you forget NFTs altogether, there's been efforts like Verisart. There have been efforts by crypto entrepreneurs to try to utilize the blockchain in order to establish provenance of pieces. But you're never going to get old school collectors, whether it's dealers like the Namad family or the Niarchos family. They're never going to stick their collection on the blockchain. These people dwell in, they want discretion, and they're not sharing their collection with anybody, you know? So that's never going to happen. And I just think in terms of where we are today with NFTs, for me, are, like Max said, what's an NFT? It's just a digital certificate of authenticity. End of discussion. 98% of NFTs are not on chain. So they're not even on the blockchain. They just point to a URL, and that's going to create a whole host of problems when all of these platforms start to consolidate and go out of business. There's going to be so many NFTs that evaporate where you open your wallet. It's a really funny thing, if I can make this example. In the 60s, 70s, when you would buy like a Dan Flavin, you would get this light fixture sculpture accompanied by a paper certificate of authenticity. I went to Franz West, who's one of my favorite artists. He's passed away, and I went to his apartment in Vienna recently, and there was a great Dan Flavin, but people never treasured or thought about the subsequent market value of these pieces. I've even lost certificates of authenticity for like Ai Weiwei pieces, for instance. So in the past, you would always have the physical art, and then you would misplace the certificate because there was not a lot of value attached to these things. And now you're going to have the certificate of authenticity in perpetuity, but the artwork's going to go missing because it points to a URL on an IPFS or some of these platforms that are anything but proven or stable. Someone has to pay the rent to store the art, and who's the ultimate person? So anyway, I just think, like, back to what you were saying, I think galleries are only now, I mean like now, like this week, like Hauser is looking into it, and Gagosian and Pace has led the way by already starting a platform, and Vito Schnabel has started a platform for some reason with Gary V, which I haven't quite figured that one out yet. But anyway, so I think that the galleries are only jumping on board now because it's like either eat or be eaten. They realize that this is not a passing fad, and they realize that if they don't do an about face, which is nothing short of, they're going to lose business. They're going to lose clients. They're going to lose artists. Already, Urs Fischer left Gagosian and went to Pace because of Pace's embracing of the technology. So we're in for a radical shakeup in the art business the next 3-5 years. I mean, in 3 or 5 years, NFT volume is going to probably eclipse the entire breadth of the fine art market, which stands at around 60 billion, and OpenSea did 3.5 billion in August alone. So things are, I mean, there's tectonic changes in the entire world of art as we know it.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify my comment, I was just reiterating what was being said in the reports that I read, you know, saying that auction houses are.
I'm just
That's Kenny.
But I'm really interested to hear from Max about, you know, this past year, all these exciting, NFT, sales you've been doing, and all these amazing exhibitions. So yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more insight about that, how you decided on, curating which artists, and how you came to those decisions. Was it following along Christie's footsteps? Was it something that you'd been thinking about for a while? I'd love to know.
Ooh, that's a blow. Can I just say one thing also? Max, how do you compare living in America and the NFT market to being in Asia and the stance and the position of Asians market in relationship to NFTs?
It's a great question. I came here with, you know, a big title as the head of contemporary art auctions for Sotheby's Hong Kong, and I think 80% of my conversations with clients have been NFT focused at this point.
Amazing.
It's really incredible to see. We just actually closed my first NFT auction here in Hong Kong of this artist Rafiq Anadol. He did this immersive room, which was Instagrammed. You know, it was the talk of the city. Basically, there was lines out the door. It ended up selling for over $2.5 million US. You know, record for the artist. We did 5 million in sales. It just and
Wow.
Majority of the buyers were all based in Hong Kong, and it really just goes to show. I think there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, but the interest is absolutely there and it's growing. And what's incredible to see is that the primary, I would say, age range is between, at least at Sotheby's, is between 25 and 40, and I think on OpenSea, you know, it's probably 16 to 30. You know, it's this is a new generation of collectors. These are really new collectors to Sotheby's altogether, and you know, and this is just an untapped new potential that's really driving the force behind the collector side of things, and the artists as well. They're finally getting a voice. They're finally getting recognition for their hard work in different fields. Before, they can now qualify as an artist because of this new technology and new medium at their fingertips. Going back to kind of our plans at Sotheby's, you know, I kind of establish our roadmap as we go, but I've gotten, you know, since I think April was the first sale that we did with PAC, we've definitely learned a lot and have achieved some really incredible results since. There is always, for me, a very clear focus or clear goal with the direction or the project that we're hosting on Sotheby's. The first sale with PAC was really to engage a new audience by focusing on a celebrated crypto native artists with a real presence in the marketplace already. The second sale was natively digital, which was a curation, a timeline, if you will, of NFTs to really try to expand upon our success, but really educate our traditional clients, as well as make a statement that Sotheby's is here to be a trusted source to really lend an educational aspect to our sales. Shortly thereafter, we did the World Wide Web, which showcase it didn't necessarily have to be a artist, but owning a piece of history is now a possibility with NFTs. And there was a huge collector bidding war for that achieved over $5.5 million. Most recently, I discussed about Rafiq, but that sale was specifically targeting the question of what do I do with my NFT now that I own it? And I think exhibition is a hugely important topic that needs to be kind of uncovered or further investigated for traditional collectors to start jumping in with more interest. But I think, we exhibited and presented, an incredible diverse array with the immersive room, digital paintings, if you will, that were exhibited, as well as sculptures that had projection mapping on top. So you could really start to see how one could live with an exhibit work. So I would say there's always been a clear agenda or a directive with each sale that we do. I get probably 5 opportunities a day. Some of them good, some of them are quite ludicrous. And it's a new marketplace for us. We're growing the team, but it's still quite limited in resources as we continue to expand. And we've got some major announcements coming up in the next week or so, where it'll really show our commitment to this
give us some
project.
inside information. Give us a scoop.
We're setting up Sotheby's to handle to position ourselves in a unique way that kind of mirrors our traditional line of business.
Okay, interesting. And so, do you have plans to, when you're?
I'm so sorry. I have to leave in a few minutes.
Oh,
because
okay.
I have a meeting at 11. But maybe I can just add one thing. I'm sorry to talk, but I'm just going to say that I'm meeting with John Chamberlain's estate right now, and they're launching some kind of a platform to create NFTs out of artists' archives. And then another thing is I'm curating this the whole booth of Nagel Draxler, this fantastic conceptual art gallery in Basel, Miami, and they actually got involved in NFTs because Johann Koenig and Annika Meyer, who were both proactively involved in NFTs from Johann's gallery in Berlin, they accused Christian Nagel of not being open-minded to technology. So his gallery contacted me for advice on how to present a show to counteract that sentiment. And I said, hire me to curate the show. The show was in Cologne during lockdown, went so well, they extended it from May throughout the summer, introduced NFTs into their booth in Basel, Switzerland. And now they're actually opening a gallery, which hasn't even been announced. They're opening an NFT gallery in Berlin in January, and I'll do the first show with them of my art. So that really, for me, is the most heartening. It's just the coolest thing that a gallery that was reticent about this in the first place will now have 3 curatorial efforts in the field, followed by a dedicated gallery. And that's pretty damn exciting and progressive, and shows you that this is something that is really not just here for now, but here for a good long time. And I've never seen anything transform so swiftly in 3 decades. So it's pretty incredible. And it's people like Max and Sotheby's and Christie's and Nagel Draxler and Mark Limsher from Pace, and these people, we you can't just, the art world gets so complacent about the status quo, and my doorbell is ringing, perfect timing, but change is upon us, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And thank you so much for talking together, you guys. It's fascinating.
Thanks, Kenny.
So great.
Okay,
thank you. I'm finding myself that I'm launching Artcryption actually next week, the Dubai Expo 2020, and I work with a lot of traditional artists, and I'm finding a lot of artists in the traditional space are very much interested in exploring NFTs. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? You're saying that you feel that is Sotheby's curating, how are you making your curatorial decisions when it comes to NFT exhibitions?
Yeah, it's uncharted territory for some of it, or at least on the surface it may seem, but it's actually my colleague Michael and I who kind of come together. We have a meeting every week. We discuss different projects. We discuss the merits. We're looking at significance both historically, which in this world is from 2017, like the CryptoPunks. Yeah. We're looking at the Bored Apes because there's a really community-driven approach that's completely new and revolutionary to the art world. But then we're also looking at artists that are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible, what's feasible, and really challenging us to redefine our notions of art. And so, in that sense, I think that we're quite specific, because I recognize the important role that Sotheby's plays as a bridge between the traditional art market with physical works and this kind of new burgeoning market with natively digital works, and we're very conscious of that significance, and are really trying to strike a path and find some good balance. But I do hope, and exploring traditional artists getting involved with NFT medium and really just focusing on those that are using the medium to really enhance their artistic viewpoint and message.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, with myself as a founder with Artcryption, we're working with curators and Bompus and Par, an agency in the UK, with Dubai Expo 2020, and we're basically bringing in digital artists that are already doing digital art. But I'm also finding that we have a lot of traditional artists that are just very fascinated and want to get into the NFT space. A lot of them feel that, oh, do I need to convert this into, a digital piece and not necessarily, keep it the way it is? Well, my view, I think it may be different than yours, is that an NFT is not just digital art. An NFT can represent a physical or digital asset. So I feel like there's, huge potential for existing artists. I don't feel like they have to change their medium, and we can still, they can still sell an NFT based on that. And I feel like this technology is helping artists catch up with, what is fair for artists. Like when we're talking about resale royalties and proving ownership, and when we even talk about counterfeits and how, art crimes are the third largest in the world after drugs and weapons. So I think the potential is huge. I think, NFTs, are hot, really popular right now. I think Kenny had said this in one of his articles as well, DAOs being next. I'm really interested in self-sovereign identity and digital identity and connecting it to NFTs. I think that's going to be something we're going to be seeing as well. I personally predict that we're going to be seeing a lot more of the art world kind of, exploring this whole space in NFT. So yeah, interested in your thoughts on that too.
Absolutely. I think it comes from great collectors will follow great art. And I think it's about really recontextualizing and redefining, one's understanding of that art. I do think that there's definitely a room for physical and digital to absolutely coexist from one artist. I do worry about this double dipping conundrum, like where, if you're selling the physical version and then also selling a digital version, which is, one of one replica, for me that doesn't feel like the technology is being used in the appropriate or creative manner. But I encourage artists, especially because of this secondary market, resale royalties, to get involved, because I think it can be quite life-changing. I've spoken to many NFT artists, and their lives have completely changed in the past year. Collectors as well, and it's been incredible to see. And yeah, I think it's just about putting out the best work possible, whatever medium that is.
No, exactly. But to your comment about the physical and digital, what we're seeing is that, we're seeing that a lot of artists do want to release both the physical and the digital. And in addition to that, what we're even doing is experiential. So we're launching next week with Bompus and Par and M&A Creative at Dubai Expo 2020. And the NFT is more than just, whether it's the physical or the digital. We're including experiences as part of that NFT. And there's a real appetite for that, we're finding, working with a lot of brands who work with a lot of artists and, seeing these things. So, NFTs allow that. They allow more than just, the digital. So, I personally am excited about that. I personally think we're going to see a lot more of that, kind of hybrid of assets
Absolutely.
being sold. So,
absolutely.
So I'm not sure how much time we have left, actually, if we're supposed to keep going. But I did want to ask you, though, when you did your sales, and did you find that the collectors that were purchasing, was it like a new collector base, or was it like, did you find that your traditional collectors were still interested in the works?
Yeah. So at the beginning, I would say it was almost 90% new collectors, which was very exciting. to see. More recently, some of the sales have definitely attracted some of our bigger collectors. You know, I can share that the direct underbidder of the Bored Apes at around 20 million hammer was a traditional collector with an incredible contemporary and modern art collection that had never really, had never purchased an NFT before, but was quite interested. So it's been, we are starting to see this crossover from traditional clients buying NFTs, and even the conversely traditional NFT collectors starting to buy some physical paintings. So it's been great to see that kind of crossover, and I do expect, it just to continue in that direction.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I mean, this was so great chatting with both you and Max. And I think this is such an exciting space, and just really looking forward to seeing what Sotheby's does in the future. Do you have any final thoughts before we close off?
Just to stay tuned. We've got some incredible projects and announcements coming up in the next month and a few months. We already have kind of a outline for the end of the year, which is great to see. We're really organizing ourselves and structuring ourselves to really put all the time and energy required to build out these sales. And I think you can really see that within a Sotheby's sale, kind of just how we approach it, not just from the artistic side, but really, presenting it, doing the research, providing the necessary information to help educate people. And that's really what we're trying to do at Sotheby's.
No, it's amazing what you guys are doing. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Max. And, thank you, NFTCON.
Thank you.